Did you
And
know you were, like, kind of doing something wrong or something that, like, they wouldn't be, like, psyched about if you weren't
yes and
anonymous?
no. So what's
Or not
funny
that you were doing something wrong, but the
no, I
fact
know
that
what
you
you
were being
mean.
anonymous.
I certainly wouldn't do it now, and I would not advise my children to do that. I would say, use your brain and think. But at the time, I told coworkers of mine, like it wasn't some crazy huge secret. The, assistant at the magazine, I sent her my blog. I'm like, here's my blog. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. I told fellow PR people about it. I was outed by a PR person because the New York Post loved the blog and was curious who I was and emailed around to people. There was one particular post that was getting a lot of traction, and everyone was like, "Who is this? Who is writing this?" And a
What
PR
was the
person.
post?
It was a post called The Beauty Hierarchy, and that was definitely my snarkiest post, and I was like, "Oh, should I?" But it's true. And it basically was like, talking about, beauty assistant, makes 25K a year, surviving on ramen, whatever, whatever, associate beauty editor, you know, be- beauty director of Vogue, like, money, more money than God, whatever XYZ is for the little people. I don't remember exactly what it was, but, um, and so it was poking fun at the beauty editor of Vogue, which is not very kind in retrospect. Um, and so yeah, it went like mega viral within that little world. And someone just hit reply all and said, "Oh, it's Nadine from Ladies Home Journal." Because again, it wasn't necessarily a secret, but that one particular post, had I not published that post, the rest of the blog truly was like, but we all talk about this. We talk about this in person. Like this is something that we discuss and that everyone on the inside knows. But it was something that it wasn't written down. And then yeah, that particular post was snarky. And of course now I'm in my 40s and I look back and I'm like, oh, it was a little embarrassing. And I understand why people were upset, but live and live.
People are always upset, I find, when their narrative is co-opted in a way that they can't control, of course. So you have these people being like, well, she's telling all of our story and we have nothing to do with that. But there's also the element of, I was just reading a book written about like the behind the scenes of The Bachelor, and like all the executive editors at The Bachelor, or the executives at The Bachelor, were really upset about the show Unreal because they
Oh
were
yeah.
like, it's yeah, because they were like, it's pulling back the curtain and it's destroying the romance. And they were saying it was destroying the romance for other people, but what they really meant was it's like destroying like our ability to dictate this narrative. But it feels sort of similar to that you're pulling back the curtain on and exposing like the maybe less pretty side of an industry that's very predicated on image and control
Yes,
specifically.
and I also think people took themselves extraordinarily seriously, and, I was like, "We're not curing cancer here, like, we're writing about mascara." And there were some people that upset, and they didn't like that, and I'll never forget, like, I had some people comment anonymously on my blog after I was outed, and they were like, "I've known you for 2 years, and, I've always thought you were a nice person, and I've sat next to you at events, and we've had really good conversations, and, like, now I think you're disgusting, and I just think you're awful, and you're never gonna work in this town again." And, I was like, again, like, I didn't actually say anything untrue, and also, these are conversations at that table you and I have probably had about the craziness of all the free stuff that we're getting, and also about certain editors who aren't very nice, or at the time were not very nice.